Maya Angelou has always been a woman who represented greatness and excellence, and someone who just always inspired me with her life story, the amazing things that she's done in her life and the things that she's overcome. And this quote, and I'll go ahead and read it. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. It's something that rings true in my life. I think that especially in this industry, we come across a lot of challenges in the ways in which people will speak to us, or especially as women, being received a certain way, being a confident woman, being an assertive woman. And I think that for me, something that I've learned to lead with is making people feel good, and counting everyone as an important part of the process, not overlooking anyone's role, and really showing gratitude and appreciation just for people, not only in work, but in life. And I think that that's important in how you build strong connections and how you create an impact that's bigger than the work that you do, but you begin to embody that work and it becomes who you are. And that's why I love that quote. I just think that it speaks to embodiment. It speaks to being a powerful person, whether you're man, woman, or non-binary, or however you identify. I think that, you know, there's something that we can all learn from that, regardless of what industry we're in. So I really just love Miss Maya Angelou. She's amazing.
Another milkshake, please.
Being a revolutionary is creating a vision that is more humane, that is more fun too, that is more loving. It's really working to create something beautiful. And I love this quote because I've recently read Assata Shakur's autobiography probably a few months ago. And that was the first time I read it, and it completely changed my life because it just opened my mind up to just so many different possibilities and the beauty of the journey and living in purpose and not being held back by circumstances, regardless of what those circumstances are. And she's overcome extreme circumstances, having the whole apparatus of the state against her. So I think that especially as young Black creatives, we're living in a time now, we're living in a time now where purpose is more important than being fly. It's more important than having clout. It's more important than, you feel what I'm saying, getting your rocks off. You want to actually leave people with something that can change their life, and really use your art to speak to not just the world, but your people, because we see what we go through. Yeah. And a lot of times what we're waiting for is to align with the system that is actually destroying our communities, that is actually deterring us away from empowering our communities, because we want to escape the communities that, many of us have experienced as depleted or diminished or disparaged because of the system at large. And the creators, we come from the streets, we come from the hood, we come from the south, we come from everywhere. And we have to remember that with where we come from, there's a responsibility to pour into those places, to not just abandon where we come from, to get to another level. And I think that in every aspect of our lives as young Black people, people of color, we have the power to be revolutionary and to use our art to really gain the attention of the world, and to use it in a way that transforms the world and in a way that doesn't just serve ourselves. And right now we're seeing a shift in that. We see the Curvy Jean Raymonds, we see the Misa Hiltons, we see the Dapper Dans, but we also want to take it a step further. And I think that it's important to keep ourselves grounded in that, because that's where all of this entire system in this country survives, off of Black art and creativity. So how much longer are we going to allow them to profit off of our art and our artistry before we use it to fortify our communities? You know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily have to be Fred Hampton to be a revolutionary, but if you're clear on your politics and why you're doing the things you're doing, then that can completely shift the conversation. You're able to move differently. So that's why I chose that quote. Nobody could take from you what you've done. So sometimes we don't need the acknowledgement. For years, my mother was behind the scenes, and she enjoyed it because she doesn't really like to do this kind of stuff. Right? She likes to be behind the scenes. She likes to do what she loves and then go home and mind her business, right? And we just had a Clubhouse conversation with Pussy Rap and all of that. She said that was my place, and I didn't need to be in the forefront, but I also didn't do the work that I did to be stolen from. So when it comes to us getting the credit that we deserve, again, nobody can take that credit from you, but it's up to us to champion our creators and acknowledge them when we see a situation like the Gucci and Dapper Dan situation, when we see all the rap girls taking on this one aesthetic, and it's like, where does this aesthetic come from? It's important for us to know, to do our history and in our homework, so we know what this comes from and what we're talking about. And I think too, sometimes we have to remove our ego from it, because your time is your time. What you've done, again, nobody could take that away. That's God's anointing over your life. Nobody can take that away from you. And I think that if we're constantly wanting the credit, then we should adjust our intentions and see, okay, where is this coming from? Because I know what I've done. I don't have to wait for anyone to acknowledge me, because I acknowledge myself, and the people who have experienced me and my work acknowledge it as well. And what I will also say too is, even if you do come up against injustices, or you feel like you've been stolen from and stuff like that, advocate for yourself 100%, but the truth will always prevail. And we have to remember, we're in an industry too, in the fashion industry, where people are being stolen from every day. Big designers are stealing from small people. We see it in fast fashion, Fashion Nova, but we have to still continue on. We can't allow these things to deter us. We can't allow these things to diminish us and make us lose the passion that we have for our craft. And that's not to make excuses for them, but there's no way that you can copyright fashion. Everything in fashion has been done before. So sometimes we have to remember that and be like, okay, well, let me keep working on my craft, because eventually I will get there anyway. Nobody can stop that. But if we hold the belief that this person is going to stop me, these people are trying to stop me, then we create that experience in our lives. And now it's us stopping ourselves because we're so worried about being acknowledged or being at the forefront or being there, when really sometimes you got to just put your head down and keep working. Who cares? The work speaks for itself. Before that, I was the chair of University Homecoming Fashion Show. I was an intern for 4 years. I did every single show. I brought Teen Vogue. And the year before my show, I brought Teen Vogue. I brought Coach. These were things that were never done before. Was I thirsty for it? No, I just worked hard. And sometimes you just got to do that. And then God, you will be exalted by God. God will put you in a position. But we have to keep our faith. If we are doubtful and if we feel like it's not going to happen, then baby, it never will. It really won't. But if we stay steadfast on our path, and I'm not trying to tell anyone to compromise who they are. I want to be clear on that, or to accept being thrown to the wayside. No, you advocate for yourself and you stand up for yourself and you like do all of the things, but also don't get so caught up in trying to prove something to anybody else, because the proof is in the pudding. It's evident in the work that you do. It's evident in who you are. Sometimes you don't even need the conversation around it. You just let it be what it is. Like I said, my mother is an excellent example for that. Dapper Dan, if you don't know his history, do your homework. He's an excellent example of that. They went and raided his warehouse in Harlem, and he had to go underground for years. And now he's 70 plus and being exalted in this way. So you never know the plan that God has over your life. So, don't, like I said, sometimes you have to take your ego out of it and just let the plan unfold. And again, too, protect yourself, protect your work, do all the things. I'm not saying just be lackadaisical, no. But I don't want us to be worried about those things, because then we create them in our universe. Who cares? Women run the world, and as long as we know that, we'll be fine. It don't matter what comes up against us. We're strong, we're resilient, we raise communities, and we strengthen each other along the way. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be all right. We just have to know we're gonna be all right.
Another milkshake.
Take it back. in 2016 when I got to Howard and I went to my first homecoming fashion show. I'm gonna tell a funny story. So I auditioned for the show. I didn't make it in the show, but then it was kind of like, they kind of tried to pull a like, do you know who that is? And then tried to put me in the show after. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna, now I don't want to be in the show. And that's me, I'm hard-headed. So I was like, I don't want to be in the show, but I needed a fly outfit to go to the show. So I was on my mom like, can you give me an outfit? Like, can you give me an outfit? Can you give me an outfit? And she got me one. And I remember going and just it was like lights, camera, action, everything about it just drew me in. And at the time, Kelsey Ashley was the chair, and now she's doing amazing things. She's working with Keisha Cole. She's awesome. If you check her out, if you haven't. And I remember when she came out at the end, and I was just looking at her and I was listening to her, and I said, that's gonna be me. So this was 4 years before I got the opportunity. Then in spring of 2017, I interned as an assistant stylist for the Springfest fashion show. Then in 2018, I interned as homecoming fashion show stylist, excuse me. Then in 2019, I was the lead assistant for the 2027. That's 2017 homecoming. Then 2018, I was the lead assistant. And then in 2019, I got the show. And what I would say, it was years of preparation for that moment. It was years. It wasn't just in the planning of it, it was in the interning. It was in the working for under people, learning people's personalities, going back and forth to different offices, to different, y'all are in college, y'all know how it is. You got to knock on this door and talk to this person. And again, people will never forget how you made them feel. So leading with love, being a bright light in these spaces that people actually want to help you. They don't even know why they want to help you, but your spirit is so strong when you walk into the room. They're like, maybe I'll just give this girl a chance. I really don't like none of these students, right? That's how they make you feel. I really don't want to talk to none of them. But actually, let me help her out. Let me at least tell her this email or tell her this person. So it was a lot of faith. And what you'll hear me talk about a lot is faith, because that has carried me through my life. And it's not to be woo-woo, because I know in a time now, it's, I think that we're entering a time of more faith, but people are also way more mundane and practical. And they forget that there's something way bigger at work all the time, always, in all ways. So with Roots, there was a divine alignment that was taking place in my life for me to be able to be a part of that. Because my vision, I would just always say to myself, like, listen, if anyone's listening to me, just looking around, anyone's listening to me, this is my thing. I want Gucci by Dapper Dan in my show. I was very specific. And the way that God set it up was I was able to work with Anton Phillips. If you don't know who he is, you need to do your homework. A year before, when he was at Coach. And then he gets put in the position of working at Gucci the next year. So I was able to bring him in as, I was able to bring Coach in, working with him. And then the next year when I did my show, he was at Gucci, and that's how we were able to get Dapper Dan in. Now, mind you, I was saying this before God tangibly manifested it into my life. Are y'all following me? It wasn't just because I would, you know what I mean? This was a prayer. I was in a different mode. And I would say it was because I was so clear on my vision that I wasn't going to allow anyone to stop me from achieving it. And also too, I didn't allow any, I protected it. I didn't allow any negativity. I didn't allow anything around it. Nobody knew. The models, I wish I could call one of them on the phone. They didn't know until the day of the show that they were going to be walking in Gucci. I didn't tell nobody, because I was so clear that this is bigger than me. And what I'm doing right now has the power to inspire the next generations to come. And I want that to happen. So I was very, very adamant about protecting my vision, walking in faith, walking in clarity, and also trusting God. Because guess what? If it wasn't for me, it wasn't going to happen. But it was for me. That was my gift. That was my contribution. Some people pledge. Some people, you feel what I'm saying, are the vice presidents or the presidents of the university. Me, I did the homecoming fashion show. That's what I always say. And it was the most lit show ever. But I say all that to say, Roots definitely was a mixture of that passion, of that faith, and then also, again, to bring it back to the quote, making people feel good. When we were in practicing, I said, I want y'all energy to be high. I want y'all to feel good. I want y'all to be happy about what y'all are doing. They don't even know what's going on, right? They don't know Gucci. They don't know MCM. They don't know Adidas. They don't know Macy's. They don't know Champion. They don't know all of this is happening behind the scenes. But I was like, I want y'all to be happy. Because when these people in this crowd, they're going to walk away and they're going to feel that energy. They're going to feel your joy. They're going to feel your passion. They're going to feel that. So it was intentional. It was a celebration of Black art, Black life, culture, and the way in which that we continue to progress and push the culture forward. So I was very intentional with all of that. And I think it was, to this date, one of my most favorite memories, one of the greatest things I feel like I've ever achieved because of how many people have been impacted by it. Went to Howard as a communications major and journalism, which kind of makes sense because I talk a lot, right? And I wanted to have my own TV show and like all these things, but I just couldn't focus. Like, I'm like, this shit is boring. Like, I was just very like, oh my God, my mind was everywhere. So I was like, I need to do something to express myself, to express my creativity. And I was like, well, why not fashion? I'm always designing clothes in my head. I was very stylish. But also what I will say is I grew up with my mother being Lisa Hilton. So it was like, it was very regular to me. This was regular. This wasn't like something that I had to reach for. It was something that was exemplified to me day to day, because she would get up, get dressed, get fly. Like, that was regular. That was just what it was. So I think that it was, as much as it is a calling, it was also like, you kind of, if you notice, people kind of do what their parents do because that's what they know how to do. I grew up seeing my mom do that all day, so it kind of became second nature to me to follow suit. So I think it was a double-edged sword in that way too. Like, I saw her doing it, and then I also realized, oh wow, I could do this if I wanted to. We've gotten better when we look at maybe in the early 2000s what the representation was. It's like, child, not everyone is a skinny white woman, but now with blonde hair, but now, and that's just tea, but now you see women and people, rather, of all different gender identities being represented. We have shows on television like Pose. We have people in the LGBTQIA community being celebrated and accepted. We have plus size. We have different body, Meg Thee Stallion, Lizzo. There's so many different, especially Black women, that are being represented unapologetically. And I love that. But that doesn't mean that there's not more work to be done. I think that in these spaces, there's always going to be more work to be done because these spaces were never created for us. That's why we should just create our own. But hey, and I think that, and we have many times, but, not without aligning with the machine of capitalism. And I would love to see how we would create outside of those circumstances, because what we don't realize is capitalism commodifies our art. So then for a lot of us, we feel forced to stay in a certain space because that's what's making the money. But as artists, we're destined to grow, change, and be different. How can we do that if we're constantly having to do what's making us money? Do you get what I'm saying? So I would love to see for us as Black artists what it would look like if we created outside of the guise of capitalism. And what that would mean for our art and the levels in which we would take it and how we would view it. Because on the continent, we were all creative in some way, shape, or form. It wasn't just like rare, a dime a dozen. We was all doing something. Everyone had a gift. It wasn't again commodified in the way that it is now. So I think that for us, I can't speak to the whole industry, but for us as a people, we have ways to go in the value that we place on our art outside of capitalism, white acceptance, and wanting to be in these spaces that were never created for us. We have to dismantle the colonizer in our head and understand that we're way more valuable than that.
Another milkshake, please.
I've always lived a very private life, and for growing up for a long time, though, also people didn't know who my mother was. So it wasn't like I could just pull that card out like, oh yeah, Misa Hill is my mom. Like, you know, people knew, like, and we knew, right? But in other places, they didn't really know. When I got to Howard, they didn't only, like, I would say, you know, a dime a dozen of people knew, like, oh, that's Misa Hilton. Like, it wasn't until now that she's getting this huge recognition. So I didn't really feel the need to be like, oh, this is, you know, my mother is Misa Hilton. It just never really occurred to me to do that. Don't get me wrong. I think that nepotism is a great thing. I do, because we work hard to put our people in position. And that's not something that I feel like I should be ashamed of, especially if you're doing something good with it. Like, don't benefit from nepotism and be like an a-hole. Like, do something that helps people and empowers people and makes them feel good because you got the privileges to do so, right? So I think that was what it was for me. It's like, okay, if I'm going to start to work this angle, let me do so powerfully and with intention to uplift and educate and bring light to certain things, and not just in a way that self-serves, not in just a way that puts me in certain positions that I want to be in, but in a way that it branches out like a root, like roots. No pun intended, like roots, like from the tree, and then it goes out and it affects a whole bunch of different people, because that's what I saw my mother do. So I think that, you know, I think that nepotism isn't a bad thing. I think that it's an amazing thing if you use it correctly, and it's important for us to not shame our people for that. And then I'm about to take it to a whole nother place with this, though. We have to also dismantle the mentality of like, oh, I came from nothing, struggle, you know, and because that's some people's reality, and that doesn't mean, and I'm not saying that to discredit them or to diminish them. I want to be clear about that. But in our community, we want people to struggle because we struggled. And then if they don't struggle, we try to discredit who they are. It's like, oh, you're not real, you're not thorough, you're not the toughest. You feel what I'm saying? It becomes very shoulder shaky, and it becomes ego driven. And it's like it's like, oh, they're soft, they're this, they're that, and it's like, why not? We're the only community that operates like that. Like, I have to tear you down because I was tore down. And we want to dismantle that mentality. We want to, when we see people, and I think that we are. I really do. I see a big shift happening, but I know coming up for me, that was a big thing. Like, you know, like, oh, you had it easy. Everyone's life experiences are different. And here's the thing, you may be well off, or you may be, you know, just getting by, but it's not the experience, it's the feeling underneath the experience. And if we would learn to connect with that, instead of judging people for how they experience the feeling, then we would strengthen each other in our communities. Then we would uplift each other. Then we would be able to kind of shift the tide in our conversations around what it means to be young, successful, and Black. We wouldn't feel the need to assimilate into these white spaces. We wouldn't feel the need to tear each other down, or, you know, it would just be different, because we would have more of a respect for each other, regardless of the experience and what they want and what we went through. And that's, yeah, sorry, I kind of just went off on a tangent, but I think that that's important to say, because a lot of people, whether they, like I said, didn't have those privileges growing up, or they did, there's a certain shame on both sides of the spectrum of wanting to be accepted, and realizing that acceptance starts with self. So yeah, I think that, yes, nepotism is good. Stop trying to make people struggle for no reason. If I can help you out, I'm going to do that, because that's what it's about. And I always say that to people, if I can help you, it costs nothing for me to help you. Again, people don't forget how you made them feel, even if you could pass their name along to the right person. You know, you never know how that blessing, and not that we do it for it to come back into our lives, but how that blessing will come back tenfold. Let's start with this. Don't nobody give a damn about what no man think. I'm sorry. Ain't nobody doing this for the men. We're not doing this for the men to accept us and want to and feel comfortable. No, women are natural born leaders. And I'm going to make you uncomfortable. We live in a misogynistic and patriarchal society. Everything that I represent goes against that. And I think that, you know, I'm not centering men in my conversation. If you feel uncomfortable, that's your problem. Because real men is like, yes, The real man is like, oh yeah, I'm loving this. So finally, I've been waiting, you know what I'm saying, to really be led by a strong Black queen, because I have no idea what I'm doing out here. Now let me stop. Shout out to the men though. Shout out to the men. We love the men. But what I will say is, make no excuses for who you are. Use your gifts that God gave you. This is just mine. So what? It's like people, not everyone's going to like it. People may not even understand it. They'll misconstrue your words. They'll make you out to be something that you're not. People will always find fault in what you do. But it's not your job to work through that with them. Let them work through that by themselves. And what I will say, something that my mom has taught me that I will always say to young women is, your femininity is your superpower, baby. Use it. Use it, use it, use it. Be the light in the room. Be beautiful, be kind, be loving, be smart, smell good, put earrings on and things, if that's your vibe, or do whatever that is for you. And not every woman is feminine presenting, and that's okay too, but get into your aura is what I feel like my mother was speaking to when she gave me that advice. And use your magic, especially as women, we have that natural magic to really involve people in your vision. Like, yes, I was dominant. Yes, I was assertive. Yes, I'm a commanding presence, but I also knew how to reel people in. It wasn't just like, oh, I was in there like, you know what I mean, getting crazy, but I was very clear on what my boundaries were, what I would and would not accept, and what my intentions were. And we're going to keep it in those parameters. We're not going outside the parameters, creating new parameters. No, we're going to keep it in where it's at, and we're going to operate in excellence in that. And I think too, you know, don't ever compromise yourself, what you feel comfortable with, what you know, what your vision is, to satisfy anybody else, especially not a superior who may be a male or something of that nature, to get to where you want to go, because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just work hard and do what you have to do, because nobody, again, what we said in the beginning, nobody could take away the work from you. Nobody can discredit you for what you've done. So I would say, just don't be afraid to be yourself. You know, you're beautiful, you're strong, you're smart, you have a lot to offer. And it's not just outside beauty, it's internal beauty. And lead with that and realize, like, okay, these are my strengths, and that's what this is what I'm going to use, and this is who I'm going to be to get me to where I'm going to go. I'm not going to compromise on those things. No matter what you are, no matter where you identify on the spectrum, it don't matter. This is just true for us as human beings, right? So, but, you know, for all my ladies out there, don't center men in your conversation. Who gives a damn? You know what I'm saying? Don't, because that's not your MO. That's not your, so why am I going to center you when I'm trying to empower women? Like, I don't care about what you think. I don't know if that's the right answer, but hey. Go further than me. Take it further than me. Listen, I was just where y'all at a year ago. And what I want to highlight about that is I'm in a transitional space, right? Like, I'm figuring it out still. I haven't done the thing yet. Hopefully the thing will happen, but I haven't done it yet. But if I'm right now an inspiration, I want y'all to look beyond me and know that it is, the possibilities are endless, endless. And as far as getting into these spaces, learn, be under the tutelage of somebody else, even if it's reading articles, be annoying too, like email people, hello, be thirsty. Yes, I want to learn so bad. Please, somebody teach me something. I swear, my promise to myself is I will always be a student to life. That's how you enrich your life. So don't be afraid to be the student. Kamora Lee Simmons has this thing. It's like, if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. So, you know, especially at this age, learn, grow, aspire to something greater. Don't wait. It's not going to happen overnight. It may not even happen by the time you're 25. It may not happen by the time you're 35, you know? But when it happens, it's going to be so magical, and it's going to be so for you and so in alignment that it won't even feel like it took all the time that it took. And hey, sometimes it might, and that's okay too, but that's your journey and nothing is wrong with that. But keep, you know, keep working at it, keep going for it, keep aspiring to be more, to do more, to be better, to learn, to educate, to empower. Remember that, especially as, you know, young, beautiful Black people, we have a responsibility to ourselves and our community. Let's not get it twisted again with capitalism and white supremacy and all the bullshit that constantly permeates our brain and our society. We get so individually focused, we don't realize, no, we are a community. That's our strength. That's why I said what I said in Roots. Our differences aren't a weakness. That's actually what empowers us. That's what allows us to see things from a different perspective, take that perspective and expand it and consider everyone. It's not just about us. So I would also say, don't center yourself in your work. Don't. Think about how many people you want to affect. Walk in purpose outside of anything that's self-serving. Yes, the creativity starts within 100%. It's your perspective, it's your art, it's who you are and what you want to bring to the table. But it always should go a step further than that. So again, this is me. Hopefully, listen, this time next year, I'm be looking at y'all like, what's going on? Okay? Seriously, like this is not, I'm humbled and I'm honored to be here, but I have my own work to do and I have my own visions to manifest that I'm working on and my own place that I want to be in life. And I say that with all the, you know, humility in my heart, like go way further. Go way further because you can and you will, and I know that you guys are. And y'all are in good company. Y'all at FIT. Okay, I was about to transfer into FIT. I told Kia that yesterday in our mail. I was about to, Angie and I was about to transfer to FIT because I'm like, girl, I don't know about this Howard University fashion design program. So use your connections and your toolkit and your toolbox as well. Don't be afraid, like I said, to be the annoying person. You know this person is an alum of FIT. Hello, please, can I talk to you for 5 minutes? I'm at the door. Don't be afraid to be that person and show up in excellence every time, every single time. Put your best foot forward, work hard. And again, take it even further. I want y'all to take it further than me, baby, because we here, we here. So let's take it further together. And now you have a friend and an ally and somebody that you could come to that'll give you some grounding or some advice if you need it. But I'm right here with you. I'm figuring it out too.
You gotta keep doing what you're doing, you feel me? You gotta keep on grinding, you gotta keep your eye on the prize.